Hello and welcome to Green River Media Election Center, Your Voice 2026. I'm Joel Hines, and today I'm joined by Democratic Senate candidate Amy McGrath. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, great to be with you, Jewel.
Starting off, you're one of 7 candidates in the Democratic primaries, and you're working to replace Senator Mitch McConnell. So, would you mind telling us a bit about yourself, some of your background, stuff like that?
Sure. Well, I'm Amy McGrath. As you mentioned, I'm running for this open U.S. Senate seat. My background has been defending this country and defending Kentucky my entire adult life. So I spent 24 years in the United States military and in the Marine Corps, 3 combat tours during that time. After my military career, I came back home to Kentucky. And my husband, 3 kids, decided at that point we needed better leaders in this country and jumped into politics. I ran for Congress, and then I ran against Mitch McConnell in 2020, taking on one of the most powerful politicians in the country. And while we were not successful in that run, I've stayed in politics behind the scenes, helping others win pro-democracy candidates around Kentucky and around the country for the last 6 years, as well as teaching national security policy at the University of Kentucky Patterson School. So, that's kind of been my life in a nutshell. It's being ready for this mission to take on the role of United States Senator is something I'm ready to do on day one because it's something I've done my entire life. Protecting this country with my national security background and understanding with what is going on right now and the global crisis that we're facing. I think we really need a senator who gets it because it's going to get worse.
Following that, what are some things that you've noticed around your community that you'd like to shed some light on?
Well, look, I think this race, from crisscrossing the state and talking to thousands of Kentuckians, it's about 2 things: affordability and accountability. Kentuckians are upset with the way things are going right now in our country, certainly at the federal level. And we want accountability for all of the craziness, for the corruption that you're seeing in Washington. And we're also hurting. I mean, a lot of Kentuckians can't afford to make ends meet. Right now, we're seeing the prices of everything go through the roof. And if you pull the string on that, it's because of these tariffs. It's because of this war in Iran, which is spiking, gas prices. They're going up and up. We're seeing power bills in Kentucky going up. A lot of it is also because of this healthcare bill that was just passed last summer. This, I call it the big ugly bill that takes away healthcare from people and makes it less affordable. And so all of those things combined, in addition to rising inflation, really puts the squeeze on Kentuckians. And so we have to have a senator that has the backbone to take on tariffs that hurt our bourbon industry, protect rural healthcare in particular, protect Kentucky's veterans. These are all things that I'm going to be focused on.
Moving on to congressional integrity. Throughout the country, a big part of people's campaigns for this term is advocating for the advancement of term limits in Congress. So, what's your stance on term limits, and would you be in favor to vote for or against them?
Yeah. Well, I have been from the start a huge proponent of term limits, and not only for Congress, but also for the Supreme Court. I mean, most people don't think that you should be appointed for a judgeship, even at the highest levels, for life. That's like crazy. And Mitch McConnell sat in this seat for 42 years. You shouldn't have that. So yes, I'm for term limits, and I'm for democracy reform, right? Not just term limits, but also ending gerrymandering, ending dark money. A lot of what's being spent in campaigns around the state is coming from out of state. This is crazy. I'm for ending stock trading among members of Congress and the cabinet. You either want to go serve your country in Washington, or you want to go to Wall Street. You can't do both. And I will also say that the first bill that I'm going to pass as your United States Senator is going to be to, if there is a government shutdown, Congress does not get paid, and neither does their staff. We got to stop this madness.
According to AAA, gas prices have jumped almost $2 per gallon since February. Grocery food prices have increased 2.1% over the last year. So, how would you work with your congressional colleagues to pass legislation that hopefully addresses the economic hardships at this moment for many
Yeah.
of the families across the country?
Yeah. And across Kentucky. Look, I, I'm somebody who's a practical person. Okay.
Hmm.
With my military background, I look at everything and how do we solve this problem? Kentuckians are spending, the average Kentucky family is spending $5,000 more this year than last year. And we can all feel it. And then you just outlined some of the price hikes, okay? So how do you make life more affordable? You go after the things that are causing, that are driving these price hikes. So the first one is the tariffs. Of that $5,000 that Kentucky families are spending, 2,500 of it, so half of it, is coming from the tariffs. Because we're all paying more for goods at Walmart, food at Kroger, Home Depot. No matter where you go, that's where that's coming from. So we need to get rid of the tariffs. And this is something that Congress should be doing. And yes, I can work with other members, even of a different party. You know, the other Senator Rand Paul here in Kentucky, he's not for the tariffs either. We need to stop this madness. It's hurting Kentuckians. So that's one thing. Second thing is healthcare. This big ugly bill that was just passed last summer drives up the cost of healthcare. Kentuckians are spending, on average, $1,500 more than they were before that bill was passed. And why? Well, because it throws people off of healthcare, drives up the cost of healthcare for everybody, takes away the Affordable Care Act subsidies. So, as your senator, get those subsidies back, claw back all the cuts that were made in this big ugly bill, and we'll get that healthcare bill back down. Okay. The third piece is the war in Iran, which is costing Kentuckians right now over $700 more this year, $750 in gas prices. So we have to get a Senate that stops this war, that forces the administration to come up with a negotiated settlement, opening up the Strait of Hormuz, getting our military back to actually defending this country again, and stopping the madness. We are spending $1 billion a day in this war that we're not winning. So we have to do that. Those things are the things I'm going to tackle.
Shifting over to healthcare and like reproductive rights, um, you you mentioned already your stance on healthcare, but when it comes to things like abortion or IVF, what are your stances on the care for that here in Kentucky?
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of IVF. I have friends that have used this technology to have families, and most people believe in this. And voters, with regards to reproductive freedom, voters in Kentucky have spoken on this issue, right? When the radical right here tried to pass a constitutional amendment, not that long ago, just a couple of years ago, to ban all abortions in Kentucky, even in the case of rape, even in the case of incest and life of the mother. When they tried to do that here, guess what? The voters of Kentucky defeated it. And I was a proud supporter of Protect Kentucky Access, which was an effort to make sure that Kentuckians knew what was happening and to defeat that amendment. So, you know, what I'm going to do as a senator, I want to codify Roe at the federal level. And I think Kentuckians have definitely spoken that they don't want the craziness that the far right wants to impose on us.
Shifting topics a little here. Um, with the Mitch McConnell seat now open for the first time in over 40 years, what is your strategy to flip the seat from red to blue?
Well, look, I think what's happening in our country and in Kentucky is making people take a second look at their votes. When I talk to Kentuckians who voted for Republicans in the past, and I talk to him every day. What I hear is, I didn't vote for higher prices. And I say, well, did you vote for our rural hospitals to close? Because 35 of our rural hospitals are at risk now. And people are like, no, this isn't what we voted for. We didn't vote for a focus on, ballrooms with golden doors and bailing out Argentina. We wanted, America first. And I feel like that's an opening here. So to do the things to win here in Kentucky as a Democrat, and we have a roadmap for this, right? We have our great governor, Andy Beshear, who's won in Kentucky twice in an off cycle. And he's done that by talking about and leading on the issues that, 99% of Kentuckians care about and affect us. And that is the affordability piece. That is the healthcare piece that we're talking about. That's what I'm focused on. And then also being a candidate who can speak to and hear and listen to not only Democrats, but also independents and moderates. That's how we win in Kentucky. All three of these other candidates, well, now two, I guess now on the other side, they're Mitch McConnell disciples, right? They all worked for him. That's who they came from. And they've now pledged their loyalty to Donald Trump. And that's not where Kentuckians are at. They don't want a yes man. So if you want somebody who is independent, right, who has some values, is not going to be a lapdog for this president, that's where most Kentuckians are at. And that's what we keep focused on.
Current polls have you in second place against your opponent, Charles Booker. What is one thing that distinguishes you from Booker and the other Democrat candidates? Will you be adopting a different strategy compared to the previous one you've used in the past, or?
Well, look, I don't think there's any candidate in this race who has nearly as much national security experience as I do. And when we're talking about a global energy crisis of epic proportions, we absolutely have to have a senator that understands that. And we have to have a nominee on the Democratic side who can go toe to toe on the issues of the day. And that is going to be the issue of the day for the next 6 months for sure. And look, I'm ready to be your senator on day one. I've spent my entire life serving this country. I stepped up when the stakes were high, ran a credible, really credible campaign against Mitch McConnell that made him work here in Kentucky. I know what it takes to run that kind of campaign, to compete. Twice now, I've built one of the strongest grassroots operations Kentucky has ever seen. And I know how to get the resources to run this type of campaign. And most importantly, though, I have the backbone to, like I said, to take on these tariffs and take on this healthcare challenge that we need right now. So those are all the things that distinguish me from the other candidates running in this race. And look, in 2020, 2020, I'm really proud of that campaign. We dealt with Mitch McConnell's unlimited money. We dealt with COVID. Try running a campaign in Kentucky when you can't get out and knock on doors and you can't shake people's hands. You're being a first-time candidate and people can't even see you. That's hard. So I think this time, I've been crisscrossing the state. I've been out there talking to people. It is very different. And what we're seeing in this country, as opposed to 6 years ago, is also very different. So I'm excited for this race. We've got 1 week to go. And the other thing I want people to know is that, even after 2020, I never quit. I was behind the scenes, not with a slogan with my name on it, but with transparent organizations helping candidates and causes around the country in with real resources in the last 6 years and doing some really good work there.
We're going to do one more topic shift here. With the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine, do you support the idea of sending money and other forms of support over to Israel?
Well, look, I think that traditionally we have not sent a ton of money there. What we have done is weapons, and we have sold them technology. I have always been somebody that has believed that Israel has a right to exist and has a right to defend itself. That said, I am furious about the leadership of Israel, its tactics that it has used not only in Gaza but also in Lebanon. This business of using civilians and going after it's wrong, and I've been very vocal about that. And in addition, I am absolutely furious that it appears that the president or prime minister of another country, of Israel, talked our president into starting a war in Iran that is absolutely not in the interest of the United States of America. And this entire war that we are in right now, the deaths of American servicemen and women, the civilian deaths that we're seeing in the thousands in the Middle East right now, the gas prices here at home skyrocketing, the energy crisis that we're all dealing, totally preventable. Okay? I did dozens of war games on Iran in the last 24 years in the military, and every single one of them ended in a similar fashion. And we did not need to do this, to start a war on February 28th with no timeline, no funding, no backing from our allies and partners in Europe or our partners in the Middle East, with the exception of Israel, who apparently talked us into this. No consultation with anyone. And it has engulfed the Middle East. And we're in a strategic defeat right now. Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz with asymmetric weapons and drones, all totally predictable. And this ceasefire that has been happening with the deal that our president is trying to do, it's ridiculous. There's no deal. Iran has the cards right now. And meanwhile, our economy is stagnant. Our munitions are massively drained and depleted. We have nothing to show for the billions of dollars that we've already spent on this war. It's a disaster, okay? And I don't think there's any easy way out right now. And we need a Senate, a Congress that will force the Trump administration, one, to have transparency as to how much we've already lost here, and two, to force an agreement that ends the energy crisis and gets our military back to the business of actually defending our country and standing up for American values, which goes back to your initial question. We don't support countries or give countries weapons that target civilians. We don't do that. Not in America.
Finally, is there anything you'd like to say to your fellow Kentuckians? A quote, a slogan, words of advice, or even where they can find you or more information about you?
Well, my fellow Kentuckians, you can find more information on me at amymcgrath.com. Okay. I think it's just really important right now that we nominate a candidate on the Democratic side who can take on whoever wins on the other side. Hold them accountable. Go after them because they are going to be yes men on the things that matter to Kentuckians, to bring down prices, to stop this war. All right. I have the best, most unique background to be able to do this. And I would just say to my fellow Kentuckians, you want to compete? You want to win? I do. It's important for our country and it's important for Kentucky. So amymcgrath.com, get behind us.
With that being said, it seems that's the end of today's episode of Your Voice. I'm Joel Hines, and this was Amy McGrath. For more information about the 2026 election, check out our website, greenrivermedia.org/election. You can find us on our socials at Green River Media. And thank you for joining us today, and thank you guys for tuning in.